All right, well, let's move on to the second game on the slate here, which is going to be a dandy. I mean, back-to-back years, the rematch, the AFC Championship, Bengals go to Kansas City, and this is going to be a good one. So, Rick, why don't you start us off with the numbers or the odds?
Sure. This line has been moving a lot more than the other game, mainly due to Patrick Mahomes' injury status. This line opened first. It opened on Sunday at Chiefs minus 2.5, and then when we found out that Patrick Mahomes had a quote unquote high ankle sprain. When that news came out, books adjusted the number to Bengals minus 2.5 because there was thoughts of, hey, people usually don't come back and play the following week after a high ankle sprain, which, earlier in the week, there was talks about Patrick Mahomes missing this game and Henny starting this game and playing this game. So the line moved to minus 2.5. Then we got news on Tuesday and Wednesday that Patrick Mahomes was practicing, and he's pretty much said he's a full go for the weekend and he's going to play, he's going to start. So the line shifted back to the Chiefs being favored, and it looks like it's settled at Chiefs minus 1.5. So they need to win by 2 points to cover the spread. And then the over-under for this game, like Chris said earlier, is 48 points, which is pretty much in line with what their over-unders have been between the Chiefs and Bengals recently. They've actually been a little bit more recently because both quarterbacks were healthy. I think the last game that they played, the over-under was like 50, maybe 50.5 or something like that. So I think the little drop in the number to 48 is due to the injury concern of Patrick Mahomes. So, if he was to start this game and he was to, re-aggravate that ankle or something like that in the game, maybe they're taking a little bit of insurance into that, thinking that Chad Henne could come into this game potentially during the game in case Patrick Mahomes gets more hurt and can't finish the game, which would obviously diminish the Chiefs' ability to score some points. So it's settled at 48 now. I don't see it moving much from that number unless we get even more news between now and Sunday that, I don't know, maybe Patrick Mahomes didn't have a high ankle sprain and it was just like a low ankle sprain and he's 100% good to go. I don't know, but I don't see this line moving much from now unless we get more news going into the weekend. So everything says Bengals. Obviously, Bengals, Joe Burrow's won the last 3 games against the Chiefs. They have pretty much dominated them the last 3 meetings. But I think I'm going to roll with KC in this game. I think the spread is too small. First of all, if Mahomes is healthy, and I'm assuming he's healthy if he's going to play and start and practice and all that stuff. If he's healthy, I just think asking the Chiefs to basically win a game at home, an AFC Championship game, which is what they've been part of the last, 5 years now in a row that they've 5th year in a row. So to just win a game at home in that Rocket Stadium, in some potential weather, cold, snow, stuff like that. I know the Bengals went and did it last week. I know they went into a snowstorm and a blizzard in Buffalo and did it. But I think that the Chiefs are going to get the job done. I don't really have a take on the over-under in this game. Like Chris was saying, one of the over-unders is off this week. Maybe this over-under should be 50.5. So if I was leaning something, if I'm going to assume that Patrick Mahomes is going to be healthy and he's going to play the whole game, I think I lean the over. We know the Chiefs' weak spot is their defense, and the Bengals are definitely going to score some points in this game. But I think at the end of the day, I think Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. He's Superman right now. He played through an ankle injury second half last week. I just think he's going to get the job done at home. I'm going to roll with Chiefs.
So, Rick, based on the over number, the under over number, what scares me is I don't know what version of Mahomes I'm going to get. I know he's going to play. The guy's tough as nails. He's going to play in that game. He was so upset last week when they actually sent him to the locker room to get checked out. High ankle sprain scares me. They'll wrap that thing. Who knows what they'll do, but he'll be out there for sure. My concern is, will he be hampered in some degree, and will he re-injure that quickly? High ankle sprain, that could be re-injured. He is a mobile quarterback. That's part of his game, and so the over scares me there.
Do we think that the high ankle sprain's a little overblown here? Because I've never heard of a person coming back from a high ankle sprain, let alone finishing a game, then coming back and playing the next week. Usually, it's a 4 to 6 week injury.
It's it's not a high ankle sprain.
Yeah, it can't be.
It's
It
not a high
looked
ankle
bad.
sprain.
Let me tell you, it looked bad.
It looked bad, but you've hardly ever seen, most players, if they have a bad ankle sprain, a low ankle sprain, they'll miss 1 week, maybe two. But if they have a high ankle sprain, it's 2 to 4 weeks, depending on the age and health and in what position they play. There's no way with an actual high ankle sprain, you finish the game, are out of the walking boot and practicing the next week. It's just not a high ankle sprain. They can say it all they want. It's not.
Interesting.
So, do we think he's just mucking this injury up a little bit, like he's pulling an Aaron Rodgers and just trying to look like a warrior or something like that? Doesn't seem like something Patrick Mahomes would do, but maybe he thinks it's giving him a little bit of an advantage. I don't know.
It's kind of like what Josh Allen did in when he with that elbow injury against the Jets, right? Everyone was talking about he could potentially be out for the season. They didn't think he was going to play the following week, and then sure enough, he was out there, and yeah, it bothered him a little bit, but not that much, not as much as you would have expected. So maybe there's a little bit of that going on, but the Bengals are planning for Mahomes. Come on, man. I don't see what the benefit of doing that is whatsoever, but it is interesting. So, Chris, your thoughts on the game then?
Yeah, I mean, and it doesn't have to be, Mahomes. He doesn't have to, he's not the author of this injury, right? Like he's just the one that got hurt. I mean, it could be the team trainers saying, "Oh yeah, we think it's an ankle, like could be a high ankle," and they just run with it and say, "Why not? We'll call it a high ankle sprain," and we're unsure if he's playing. But no doubt about it, Mahomes is starting this game. He's going to finish this game unless he has a new injury or rolls up on the ankle the same exact way. No doubt about it. So I think this line is it's only this low for the Chiefs because of the injury. If Mahomes was not injured, I think this line is easily 3 and might even be Chiefs 3.5. I know that's tough to say because the Bengals have beat them 3 times in a row, but championship game, home cooking, best quarterback in football, A+ coach and Andy Reid. I can't bet the Bengals here. It's Chiefs or nothing for me, but my favorite bet in this game is definitely the over. Like I was saying earlier, I can't tell if the Eagles 49ers over should be 42 or 43, or this one's just way too low. But I'm going to just go out on a limb and say this one's way too low. I love the over in this game. I think when you put 2 great quarterbacks against each other in this kind of with these stakes on the line, they're going to want to gunsling it. They're going to be talking to their coaches saying, let it rip. This is not going to be a ground game. It's not a Mixon versus Pacheco. This is Burrow versus Mahomes. I think we're going to see some points. I'm liking like a 38-20, 38-27 type of game. I think the over is going to get there pretty easy. I don't think the weather is going to be a huge factor. Like Rick says, if there's a little bit of weather, as long as it's not windy, sometimes it leads to a fluke touchdown or two. So, I'm going to go Chiefs and over.
So you mentioned the weather. What I was reading, gust up to 28 miles per hour, potentially. Very cold, in the teens, 12, 13 degrees. So cold, and could be some wind. So again, it's hard to get the weather forecast because it changes so much from hour to hour. But I would definitely take a look at that. I'm completely opposite of you, Chris. I know I'm Mr. Over, but I probably won't even touch that because of the fact that I am worried what version of Mahomes I'm going to get, and because of some of the weather that I'm reading. But as far as who I think wins this game, straight up money line, Bengals all day. I think the Bengals win it, and I could be a little biased because they just whooped the Bills, but they have such a good coaching staff, they are going to scheme up. We've seen them beat the Chiefs 3 consecutive times. Why would you think they'd lose? Why would you think they'd be beat this time? They have a great coaching staff. They're going to scheme up properly. I mean, they got the 3-headed monsters. They're receiving. I mean, from a skill position, I give the Bengals the edge there with their receiving core. Their running backs are healthy and looking good. So from an offensive standpoint, they are going to look at what the Chiefs have been doing. They're going to come up. I mean, Burrow last week against the Bills, I mean, it was like drop back 2.5 seconds on average, get the ball out to those big guys. I mean, the Bills play a lot of zone, so they were able to just chew them up on these short little routes. And those big receivers would take a 4 or 5 yard catch and get another 2-3 yards, so 8 yards, 7-8 yards. And then they ran the ball extremely well. So I think they're going to give the Chiefs all they can handle. And because I still believe that Mahomes is not going to be 100%, I like the Bengals straight up. I won't touch the over-under on that one, believe it or not.
Do you think that the second week, so they've already announced, I know it was a big to-do last week with Jonah Williams and Alex Kappa being out for the Bengals offensive line. They are both announced today that they're out again. So I don't know if it's a thing or not, but sometimes when you do a patchwork offensive line, sometimes that first week you kind of get through it on gutsiness and adrenaline, and there's not much tape on how the line will play with that orientation. But now that the Chiefs are going to have tape on how these backups have been playing, there's no way. I guess you could flip the coin and say, well, the backups have had a week of time to mold into the offense. But to me, I think, there's a reason they're backups. Their 2 best offensive linemen are out, and I think it might catch up to them. So that's another small reason I lean Chiefs, is just because it's, Jonah Williams is great left tackle, Alex Kappa, right guard. I mean, this is a big deal. So, I don't want to overlook that.
Yeah, my only thought on that is, they had a terrible offensive line last year, and they got to the Super Bowl. Yeah. And those 3 guys that started last week, they looked like all pros against the Bills. They absolutely dominated. And I think a lot of it, again, what I was saying is with Burrow being able, is my audio still okay with you guys?
Yeah.
All right, I don't want to be talking and then people listening like, what a bunch of crap. But but Burrow being able to get the ball out so quick, Chris, I think that alleviates any of that concern there. I can tell you this, that those guys were big. When I watched that game, I'm like, damn, why do the Bills guys, the defensive line, look so small to these guys? They were huge. And as far as run blocking, they were just totally in control. And again, I think Burrow's quick release and the scheme they'll come up with for those receivers, I think that mitigates the problem that you're talking about. I don't know what you think, Rick.
Rick, can you run the line and the spread? There's a question in the chat. Yeah.
Yep. TB, I was just about to do that. TB 83. The line in the Eagles 49ers game is Eagles -2.5. Over under is 46.5. In the Bengals Chiefs game, the Chiefs are favored -1.5, and the over under is 48. Yep. So that's the over under for and the spread for both of those games. What was your question, Mike? I forgot what you asked me, but
about the offensive line concerns with the Bengals.
Yeah, I mean, they seem like they held up pretty well last week. I don't know if it was I saw some video online that the reason why the offensive line played better last week against the Bills was because maybe they used the snow as an advantage. It's a little bit more difficult to rush the passer when you're running in the snow, because I guess offensive linemen can kind of use their leverage to and the snow on the ground to kind of knock those defensive linemen down without holding. So we'll see. I don't know. I'll obviously have to look at the weather report a little bit more when it gets closer. I mean, it's only Friday right now, so things can change. Yeah. But if it's not going to be snow, if it's not going to be any precipitation, if it's just wind, the offensive line could be a problem. But like we said last year, The Bengals won when giving up multiple sacks every single game, and Joe Burrow just is that guy. He knows how to get rid of the ball fast. He's one of the fastest, quickest releases in all of the NFL. So by the time he snaps the ball to by the time it's gone, it's tough to get to him, man. It's tough to not tough to get to him, but it's tough to make a difference in the game if he's getting the ball out pretty quickly. But I just wanted to say that the last 3 times that the Bengals and the Chiefs played, we had 55 points, 51 points, and I think 50, another 55 points or something like that. But each game has gone into the 50s the last 3 times that they've played with these 2 quarterbacks. So, yeah, I definitely am starting. Chris, you're starting to convince me on the over. I looked at the percentages right now. It looks like how 75% of the money's coming in on the under in the Eagles game. It looks like 75% of the money's coming in on the over in this game, 48. So it looks like the public is favoring the over in this game. And as far as the side goes, it looks like 60% of the money's coming in on the Bengals. I don't know if that was more so like earlier in the week when we were unsure about Mahomes' injury. So I'm not really taking too much stock into that. But I think the numbers are telling a tale that the public is definitely betting the over in this game.
So doesn't that make you want to bet the under based on what you said on the first game?
Yeah, of course. But you can't. The public's not always wrong, so you got to sometimes lean with what you feel in your gut. One other thing I wanted to say about this game is that I know what you said. I want to just comment on what you said earlier when you said, the Bengals, Joe Burrow has beaten Patrick Mahomes 3 straight times. What's going to be any different this time? I don't know, man. I think the word revenge is a real thing in the NFL. Like, you don't think Patrick Mahomes is hearing that like all week? You don't think he knows? You don't think Andy Reid knows that they've lost to these guys 3 straight times and they've had their number the last 3 straight games? So I think it's pretty important. I think that revenge is a motivating factor. Also, if the Eagles end up winning the first game, I think it's going to be a nice little storyline with Andy Reid playing against his former team in the Eagles in the Super Bowl. So that doesn't really mean anything, but it's a motivation for Andy Reid in the game to go up against his old team in the Super Bowl. So we'll see how it goes. But I definitely am going to lean the Chiefs. They were my pick to make the Super Bowl earlier in the season. So we'll see how it goes.
TB83 is kind of in line with me. Money line Bengals.
I think what he's saying is that he's predicting the score to be 26-20, and he thinks that I'm not sure what the line is, but whatever the over/under is on field goal attempts and made field goals in the game, that's a prop that you can bet. I think he's taking the over. So he's basically saying there's going to be a lot of field goals in this game.
A lot of offense, but not a lot of touchdowns.
Yeah, gotcha.
Did you see the thing where Chris Jones he said that it's called Burrowhead, not Arrowhead? I thought that was pretty funny. But I'm with you, Rick, when you said, I'm not going to say I'm throwing it in the trash that Burrows beat Mahomes 3 straight times, but can you ever dream of a situation where Patrick Mahomes loses to the same team 4 times in a row? Yeah. It just doesn't seem right. So I think that would defy logic for me. So it's probably another reason I'm just, like I said, not ignoring it, but let's be real. Patrick Mahomes is amazing. He's shown it, how many years in a row now. I'm going with the home cooking, and that crowd's going to be absolutely crazy. They want it to be snowy. They want it to be windy. They want it to be cold. So, I'm rocking with the home guys.
I don't know how bad weather hurts that ankle. I think the colder could bother that ankle even more. I'm sorry, Rick. I'll let you go first. I had a comment.
Yeah, I wanted to say one more thing. I have noticed that with the Bengals in the playoffs, at least the last couple of years, when they start off hot and they go into the locker room with the lead, they seem to finish the job. They seem to be able to get the job done. So if just a thought out there, if the Bengals are winning at halftime, You may want to think about betting the Bengals second half, just because I mean, depending obviously what the line is or whatever, but if the line is predicting the Bengals to win the game and they're winning at halftime, might not be a bad bet to if especially if you have a Chiefs bet at -1.5 and you want to maybe hedge a little bit or something like that. But Bengals usually seem to when they come out hot and they play well in the first half, they seem to follow it up and play well in the second half as well.
Oh, that's good information. So the Bengals defense, I was going to mention the Bengals defense. I mean, one of the reasons they've been so successful against not only the Chiefs, not only what they did to the Bills, but they like to rush 3 and drop 8 in the coverage, and they can get to you with 3. But then when you least expect it, they bring somebody off the edge. Maybe it's a safety, maybe it's a linebacker. What they did to the Bills had the Bills completely confused, and they've been able to do similar things against the Chiefs in those prior 3 games. They're well coached, and again, they're a very good defense, and that's another reason why I'm with TB83 money line all day for me. And you guys you're talking me now into over. You know how susceptible I am to the over, and now you're like got me thinking, oh my goodness. So maybe I am going to bet that over, because based on those numbers, those 3 previous games, 50, and you said the over right now is what, 48?
47.5 or 48. I mean,
so
where you look
48.
Yeah.
Man.
But yeah, 3 straight times in the 50s, and I like I said, it depends what you think about Mahomes, right? I think the line for the Chiefs and the over/under are both scared down by about 2 points because of the Mahomes injury, which is probably fair. But if you think he's going to play and finish the game, that tells you which way you should lean.